And a very good morning to you, Grenada, and the rest of the world. It is a Wednesday morning here in the spice of sunny skies. And hey, guess what? I see a cruise ship sitting out there at the Melville Street Cruise Terminal. I'm going to check the schedule and see what that one is. We'll do that for you a little later. George Grant here, and welcome to today's edition of Gudday, Grenada. Today, we do have two, not one, but two very interesting opinion pieces coming your way. One from an attorney, a local attorney by the name of Jerry Edwin. It's about the CCJ. Yep. Don't be surprised, you're going to be hearing CCJ, CCJ, CCJ until at least next Tuesday. The other one is from a gentleman by the name of Willie Joseph, and he takes on the MNIB investigation. These are two very thought-provoking perspectives on two very topical issues. And we're going to separate those two opinion pieces with the national report, okay? But right now, let's get down to brass tacks. The first piece, the first opinion piece, is captioned, Grenada's supporters of the Caribbean Court of Justice request government postponement and a fix to the accession bill before the November 6th vote. And like I said, that piece is written by Mr. Jerry Edwin. The stock and trade of politicians is the art of persuasion, tossed with a dose of deception where necessary. Professionals in this line of work honestly believe that they can convince ants to forego sugar and love salt. Those who survive this grim sport are indeed great persuaders who build monuments in their own name. Consensus building is not their game. The campaign for a yes vote in favor of Grenada joining the appellate jurisdiction of the Caribbean Court of Justice, unfortunately, reeks of gamemanship and, if they fail, political leaders in Grenada and Antigua would have damned consensus in favor of naked political calculus. On August 1st, 1976, Dr. Eric Williams, then the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, answered a question that today, some 43 years later, has enormous significance for the Grenada and Antigua referenda. On that day, Trinidad and Tobago was celebrating day one as a republic, making a clean and complete break from British colonialism. Why does the Constitution of the new republic remain or retain judicial appeals to the Privy Council when you, the Prime Minister, are one of the best known anti-colonial leaders in the Third World? Dr. Williams was asked. In his signature, deep baritone voice, Williams answered, and I quote, "In a small country, when there is a dispute between persons, the best referee is an outsider," unquote. That sentiment captures the essential hesitation of many people in the Caribbean basin to entrust their legal disputes to Caribbean jurists. Essentially, it comes down to widespread suspicion of the honesty and integrity of the judicial system and of political leaders who cannot be ignored. Recognizing this indelible fact, proponents of the yes vote have gone all out to make the case that politicians have no role in the administration of justice by the CCJ. The bold print of the CCJ agreement plainly says otherwise. Dr. Williams had argued that here in the Caribbean, all the powerful people, quote, attend the same cocktail parties, unquote, and they know each other. The judges, he added, and I quote, all attend the same law schools with the politicians while they were students together at the University of the West Indies, unquote. The political leaders in Grenada and Antigua will argue that Williams was wrong in his conclusions. But none of the ruling governments can match Williams's well-earned credentials as a tried and true anti-colonialist, which is in sharp contrast to the earnestness of the Yes campaign theme, which is dubbed Breaking the Chains of Colonialism. It has been rumored that when the British monarch offered him a knighthood, Dr. Williams refused. The same, of course, cannot be said for the leaders of the Yes campaign, who lap up accolades of the former colonial monarch and proudly display them as badges of personal honor. The wigs that have been discarded by the UK Parliament now comically adorn the heads of the respective President and Speaker in Grenada's Parliament. This underscores the hypocrisy that the CCJ vote ushers in a new era of anti-colonialism. The paradox is that distrust for politicians sits solidly alongside the longing for a Caribbean-based final court of appeal. All the same, the vote on November 6th requires a sober examination of the bill and the agreement that presage the CCJ. Article 33 of the CCJ agreement states that the political leaders of CARICOM have the right to change the CCJ agreement at any time. Therefore, it is impossible for the CCJ to be free from political interference, despite what the Yes campaigners are saying. The Grenada Bill entrenches or protects the right of final appeal to the CCJ. But the Grenada Bill does not protect the judges or the commission which selects the judges, because that section of the Grenada Bill is not entrenched. Only the right to appeal to the CCJ is protected according to the Grenada Bill. The Grenada Bill refuses to allow appeals to the CCJ where there are challenges to election petitions or the appointment of persons to Parliament. When it was pointed out to the Yes campaigners that the CCJ should break ranks with the Privy Council in this bar from final appeal of political questions, the government refused to even have a conversation. Andre Lewis, a senator in Grenada's upper house representing the labor unions and a declared supporter of the regional court, has pleaded that the bill here should permit political questions to be heard by the CCJ. The Yes campaigners said no. Article 6 of the CCJ agreement states that the contracting parties, meaning the political leaders, undertake to make provision to ensure that the proceedings of the Commission shall not be inquired into in any court. In other words, the political leaders of CARICOM have banned Caribbean citizens from going to a court of law to ask any question about how the Commission makes its decisions and whether its decisions to appoint one judge or the other were proper or possibly biased, and corrupt. The CCJ agreement states that only the political leaders of CARICOM can discipline the chief judge of the CCJ. Those political leaders must also approve the person selected as chief judge of the CCJ before he or she is appointed to head the court. Readers can judge for themselves the extent of political involvement in the CCJ and whether it is proper in a final appeals court. From this writer's perspective, it is not the wording of the agreement that is the problem, but the failure of the Yes campaigners and of the governments of Grenada and Antigua to provide full disclosure of their role in the CCJ. The outgoing president of the CCJ last year warned that an independent commission was required to oversee the payment of the CCJ judges. Sir Byron's statement at the time was that this independent commission is necessary, quote, to protect the integrity of the court, unquote. Now, as the most prominent member of the Yes campaign, Justice Byron has retreated from that critique he offered back in June of 2017. The chief spokesman for the Yes campaigners in Grenada is a constitutional scholar and member of the commission that selects judges. He is also the OECS representative on the Commission for Civil Society Groups, which is a perplexing choice, since he has adopted a particular hostility with civil society groups that are asking questions about the CCJ agreement and the Grenada bill. Yes campaigners for the CCJ have refused to discuss the bill or the CCJ agreement, and instead have commissioned calypsos, reggae, and dancehall that evoke Caribbean unity, which they hope will secure the vote. The campaigners tout the farce that the November vote signals complete independence from Britain, which they well know quickens with joy the heartbeat of every Caribbean man and woman. Enlisting noble cultural artists in this effort represents the most cynical aspect of political persuasion and the earnest aspiration of Caribbean people. Nobody, not least this writer, should object to the CCJ because it is not perfect. Nothing in human affairs is. For centuries, the Privy Council got it wrong. It heard appeals from Grenadians and other formerly colonized and enslaved people who confronted Imperial Britain. But on November 6, colonialism is not on the ballot. Constitutional crisis is. And probably political stranglehold of judicial matters. To be clear, Grenadians and Antiguans are not smarter than Jamaicans, Trinis, Lucians, Vincentians, Kititians, or Surinamese, none of whom have joined the CCJ. We may never know why yes campaigners remain hostile to a request for friendly dialogue on issues in the local bills and in the CCJ agreement. As Referendum Day approaches on November 6th, the political directorate in Grenada and Antigua appear to be proving the British right when those former colonial bosses demanded 67% voter approval to change the entrenched constitutions handed down to the people of the Eastern Caribbean. That, my dear friends, is the piece written by Mr. Jerry Edwin, a local attorney at law here in Grenada. Now, I promised you that we do have two opinion pieces this morning. Second one comes from Mr. William Joseph. It is captioned, "Speaking Up If I'm Wrong." We'll take a little break, and we'll get to that in just a wee bit.
Grenadian General Insurance Company, strength and stability. Grenadian General Insurance Company, tell your friends, tell your family. We cover householders comprehensive, motor and even fire too. Contractors all risk burglary, public liability, professional indemnity, directors liability, and wait, we still have more. Come and find out more what you're waiting for.
We are located on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434.
Tell everybody.
For convenience, bill payments can be made at Bill Express at Western Union. Many of these are open until 6 p.m., including Saturdays. A 24-hour check drop box is also available at Grenlex Customer Care Centers at Grandans and Bruce Street.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing.
A commemorative postage stamp.
So it's good to know I have Co-op Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Alrighty, folks, 21 minutes after 9 o'clock. If you're watching this live on a Wednesday morning, just before I get into the GIS here, let me say a quick hello to Mickaman Alexander out there on Facebook, Earl Maitland, Veronica Sandy, Nesta Aberdeen, and Chester Simon. Nice of you folks to spend a part of your Wednesday morning with us. Thanks for joining us. And now, here comes your National Report.
More nurses could be added to the public service by the end of this year. Details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for today, Tuesday, October 30th, 2018, I am Rikisha St. Louis. The Ministry of Health anticipates the inclusion of new nurses in the public service by year end. That announcement by Health Minister Honorable Nicholas Steele at the government's weekly post-cabinet media brief on Tuesday. Minister Steele says the batch of nurses will graduate from St. George's University with a Bachelor of Science degree in November. The health sector has been placed under the microscope on many occasions as it seeks to improve services to the public and enhance its human resource.
We eagerly await the first graduating class, which should be in November, of nurses from SGU with a Bachelor of Science degree in nursing. SGU is working hand in hand with our Nursing Council to make sure that all the T's are dotted, all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted with respect to certification. But the first batch will be graduating and successfully with a Bachelor's of Science degree.
Minister Steele says integrating new nurses into the system will improve the scope of work at the hospital and other health facilities on island. He hopes that most, if not all, of the qualified nurses will be employed under the public service.
I expect an enhancement. As always, we are confined within the rules and regulations of the public service agreements that we have made with or through the debt restructuring period. So I would like to, and I'm working to have each and every one of those nurses in the system. But there will be, as we have done in the past, there will be methods that are not the usual expected coming on to the system as an established worker, but I want those individuals as quickly as possible to be serving the public, and I am sure those individuals, having been qualified, want to serve the public. So as Health Minister, I will be working with our Minister of Finance and Department of Public Administration to find ways for these individuals to come into the service.
Grenada's Citizenship by Investment program, described as a model for other countries, continues to make a significant contribution to Grenada's economic growth. During last week's post-cabinet briefing, Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, assured that they will continue to ensure due diligence in the program.
Grenada has done very well financially. Part of the reason for the economic growth in the country has been the CVI program. Right now, I can tell you, this year we are earning over $60–70 million in the CVI program already. So you could imagine what it will do for us in the coming months and years ahead. So we believe that it's necessary, but we must have a CBI that does not create problems for us. So if there are problems raised by anyone or any institution or country, we have to examine it, see how we can correct any weakness and move on.
This is the National Report. We'll have more news after the break.
On November 6, 2018, Grenadians will go to the polls to vote in a referendum. The polls open at 6 a.m. and close at 5 p.m. Remember, first check the voters list outside the polling station before seeing the poll clerk, who will enter your name into the poll book. The presiding officer will then instruct you how to vote before issuing you with a folded ballot paper. After voting, remember to fold the ballot paper how it was given to you. You will then immerse your finger into the electoral ink before placing your ballot into the box. This is a message from the Parliamentary Elections Office.
Welcome back. 4th and 5th form students from secondary schools on the island will be engaged in an electronic career day on Thursday, November 1st, as part of the Grenada Coalition of Services Week. This year, the week of activities is being observed under the theme, Services, How We Grow. The GCSI's chairman, Gudday, said the forum will expose the students to experts who will guide them through various career paths and decision-making.
Where we bring together all the experts in the different fields in one place, and we link them up electronically. This time we're going to be using, I think, with YouTube. The 4th and 5th forms of every secondary school in Grenada and Carriacou will have access to that feed. They can listen to persons, experts in the field, telling them what are some of the basic requirements and the prerequisites for developing that field, let them know what life is in that area, what opportunities are there.
He said the aim is not only to focus on the entrepreneurs, but to give guidance to those who are upcoming. The service industry in Grenada accounts for over 60% of the country's gross domestic product. At a recent government media brief, Prime Minister Dr. The Right Honourable Keith Mitchell said an increase in services means more growth and positive projections for the economy.
There is increased economic activity in construction, tourism, transport, retail, trade sectors, and of course in services in general, whether it's education services or other services. We are seeing tremendous increases, and it's the case of St. George University, the case in point, where, as you know, is over 22% of the GDP of the country. So whatever happens at St. George University affects the overall growth in the economy of the country.
These students will converge at the Grenada Boys Secondary School's laboratory on Thursday for the session. The 2018 Services Week will end with an award ceremony on Friday. And finally, as the day for making the decision to accede to the Caribbean Court of Justice draws near, Grenadians are reminded that they will vote at the same polling stations as they did on March 13th. Health Minister Honourable Nicholas Steele, during the government's weekly cabinet brief, said although the referendum is not a general election, the same rules will apply on November 6th.
You go vote at the polling station that you would have voted at the last election. So just to clear up, if there's any confusion or misconception, wherever you went to vote in March, on March the 13th, that is where you will go to vote on November 6th. Orderly conduct and of individuals within a polling station area. Most of you will have seen already the marks on the road clearly identifying where polling stations are. And the rules with respect to voting are the same for an election within that polling station area. So the consumption of alcohol, the congregating of people inside, etc., only to line up to vote, and then you are to leave the voting area.
He explained that individuals can vote with or without their national identification card.
An individual does not need to have a voter registration card to vote at a polling station. They must have their name on the list, and they must be identified or recognized by the returning officer or individuals within the polling station who are working for the Election and Boundaries Office. It is safer for individuals to walk with their voter registration card and a form of ID.
Polling stations open from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Referendum Day, November 6th. That story just ended the national report for today, Tuesday, October 30th. Let's recap the top story. More nurses could be added to the public service by the end of this year. On behalf of all those who made this newscast possible, I am Rakisha St. Louis saying thank you for viewing. Until next time.
Okay, thank you very much, Rakisha St. Louis, down there at the GIS. Just before we move along here, a couple more notes on Facebook. First of all, Fitzroy Adams is saying good morning, and he wants to know, he says, I'd like to know who signs bills into law. Well, Fitzroy, as far as I know, it's the Governor General. Okay, after the bills are passed in Parliament, they're signed by the GG. Okay. Celia Maria Flanders. Hello, Celia. She says, London, England, hearing you loud and clear. What do you mean loud? I'm not yelling, Celia. But thank you so much for joining us. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. Folks, on that note, let's take a little break here, and then we'll come back with the second opinion piece that I told you about just a little while ago.
GRENADA Community Partnership Initiative.
We at the Dorothy Hopkins Center can always rely on you for your steadfast help. It's always forthcoming. We have seen the benefits already. Our bill has been reduced, I was told, by over 40%, and that is welcome because that translates to more care for the residents. And so, thanks again.
GRENADA, energizing our community.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing.
A commemorative postage stamp.
So it's good to know I have Co-op Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing.
A commemorative postage stamp.
So it's good to know I have Co-op Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Can I have a chicken lunch, please? Large.
Real nice today.
I don't
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa
want that.
But you just asked for a chicken lunch.
I don't have problem with the lunch. Afraid the container.
What is the problem with it?
These styrofoam containers, they don't good for the environment. They shorten with life.
What foolishness you telling me? So what you want me to use?
Put my food in this. Where you get that? At the food fair, where you could get all biodegradable food boxes and disposable food supplies like cups, plates, anything you could think about. Name it, it's there. And they don't harm the environment. Food fair, taking the lead in cleaning up and protecting the environment. Like you take me advice, you get in your biodegradable food supplies,
Well, girl, I supporting who supporting the environment. That is why I shop in at Food Fair.
Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets. Products distributed by Hubbard's agency, Kirani James Boulevard.
Alrighty, folks, moving right along here on a Wednesday morning, just before I hit that next opinion piece. Let's say good morning to Hermione Charles, who's joining us. She says she's in Westchester, New York. She's with us. Thank you so much, Hermione. Would you please like us? Send us along the way. We're also joined by Judy Lewis Joseph, who's saying good morning, George. Well, good morning to you, Judy. Veronica Sandy, I love your sense of humor. Veronica says, no interruptions, George. Knock on wood. I just knocked on wood, girl. Thank you so much. Also joined there by Reds Cornerstone. Thumbs up to you too, Reds. Folks, let's turn now to our second opinion piece. And this comes from Mr. William Joseph. It is captioned, Speaking Up. If I'm wrong, here we go. In the study of administrative law, there is considerable learning on public bodies. That the Marketing and National Importing Board is a public body is readily established by the nature of the Act of Parliament setting it up, primarily its functions and the accountability provisions. Under the scheme laid out in the Act, the duty to account falls on three entities: the Board of Directors, the General Manager, CEO, and the Minister responsible, namely the Minister for Finance. Therefore, an investigation of corruption, financial wrongdoing at the MNIB, where the CEO has been fingered, should also attract the other two players as subjects of interest to the inquiry. If I'm wrong in these premises, I sincerely apologize to the readers. On October 26, 2018, Now Grenada, an online media publication, carried a story penned by Linda Straker, captioned, PM Mitchell among potential witnesses in corruption investigation, unquote. That story, unrefuted by the authorities, quotes the PM as follows. Question coming under oath. They, meaning the Integrity Commission, sought to have resources from us, and we are positive to that. They may call me too, but as I say, I am prepared to be called to give any idea of my knowledge and information, unquote. Some might recognize that as soft selling and not reflective of the gravity of the matter at hand. It is hardly likely that the learned Attorney General would have advised the Prime Minister that such would be the scope, nature, and extent of the Commission's interest in him in this matter. Am I wrong? Recall that the entire accounting scheme set out in the statute establishing the MNIB, Section 22 of the Act, places specific duties on the Minister regarding the accounts that is, financial dealings, monthly financial statements, and audited statements of the MNIB. The report continued to attribute words to the PM to the effect that he acknowledged that a lot had gone wrong at the MNIB and that it was the new board members appointed after March elections who realized that there was financial wrongdoing. Absolutely shocking. Here we hear the minister saying that were it not for the diligence of a new board, the problem would not have come to light. Wait. So, is the minister saying that he never paid the due diligence, care, and attention which he ought to have paid as a matter of official duty to the financial affairs of the MNIB? Again, Straker's summary has not been refuted by the authorities, so that it is now reasonable to rely on the information as fair and accurate. It is useful to appreciate that the minister is presumed to know the law regarding the MNIB. Look at the relevant provisions, and one would recognize what is expected of the minister. Indeed, he must also be held as having constructive knowledge deriving from his wide-ranging experiences, including before a commission of inquiry, as a minister. Add to that the opportunities he must have had to receive information on the financial affairs of the MNIB, as well as the inquiries he was entitled and expected to make concerning same in the performance of the duties the Parliament has placed on him regarding the MNIB. Furthermore, at a very practical level, the minister would be hard-pressed, embarrassed perhaps, to say that he did not meet periodically with the chairman and CEO of MNIB to be briefed on important matters pertaining to that enterprise. Beyond that, any aspect of the minister's duties which are not explicit in the Act may be implied on proper grounds. Consider also that the minister, under the Act, is really the chief custodian of the public interest in the MNIB. That interest involves the financial health and safety of the MNIB. This is a responsibility at the highest level of obligation. Accordingly, if the minister is to be more than a mere witness in the investigations, as I am inclined to think, without accusation, some proper person might advise that he recluses himself from further involvement in the matter at cabinet level, and that he ceases to make public statements surrounding the progress of the inquiry. Am I wrong? Grenada has functioned as a wounded democracy for as long as we have been independent. Winning general elections may give a right to set up as many food chains at the winner's convenience, but it gives no right of abuse or dereliction of duty. Those who feast happily on the food chain, and those who supervise the feasting must know and be mindful that there is something called the public interest, and that interest is not defined by the party to which they belong or support. In public affairs, the party is never a law unto itself. If I'm wrong, woe is unto me. That piece, my dear friends, was penned by Mr. William Joseph. Okay? Taking a quick glance at the old clock here, it says 9:46. Let me turn back here now to Facebook for half a second. Jason St. Paul says hello. Anthony Riggs says good morning, George. People share the program. Lots of good stuff here. Anthony, I'm looking forward to your next piece, man. Looking forward to that. And Veronica Sandy says, Grenada and the USA are having a competition with all these bad behaviors. Da. Okay, Veronica. It's good to see that you guys still have a sense of humor despite all the craziness that's going on in this place. God help us, really, God help us here in Grenada. We are unique. But, come to think of it, it seems like our entire history has been one riddled with scandal. You had the French here, you had the Brits, you had the Americans, you had the rebel. Just goes on. So a way of life for us. But it's, in all seriousness, it's a very uncomfortable situation that we're in right now. This thing we have for so many years referred to as democracy. I keep wondering where we're headed with that. Seems like today less and less democracy is in effect, less and less. And I'm also very concerned about the apparent breakdown in law and order. I've heard it said so many times in the past year that we have become a lawless state. You think of a lawless state, you think of the constituents or the people out there being the ones who are being lawless. No more. It's not just them anymore, folks. It's not just them. Okay, my dear friends, let we move on. Let me take a little break here, and then we'll come back with something inspirational for you before we pull the plug this morning.
Conveniently located in the Grenadians Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Grenadians will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep,
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
It's good to be early. It's good to be early. Pay your GRENADA bill on time.
GRENADA Community Partnership Initiative.
We're here in sincere appreciation to GRENADA as a utility corporation for the donation of that rooftop solar generating plant. It would reduce our monthly bill. On behalf of the Hillsview Home residents and the wider community here at Gove, to just thank GRENADA most sincerely for that thoughtful donation.
GRENADA, energizing our community.
Okie dokie, folks. That's going to take us very close to the end, but don't you move yet. Don't you go away. I want to wrap up this morning by asking you this question, and be honest with yourself, not just for my sake, but for yours as well. Have you ever gone, you felt so far gone that you just feel there's no hope in turning to God? Huh? You felt that way? Yeah. True confession. I have. Not once, not twice, but so many times throughout this lifetime of mine. But you know what? Eventually I did come across a passage in the Holy Scriptures. We often blame ourselves. You know, we feel things aren't going right because we're not right in God's sight. Yeah? You felt that way? Yep. I think we all have. Well, listen to this. This is a passage from the first book of John, chapter 1. It's only one verse long. Write this on your heart. 1 John 1, verse 9 says, if we confess our sins, he is faithful and just and will forgive us our sins and purify us from all unrighteousness. Now, folks, try it. And once that works, you'll feel like a load has been taken off your shoulder. Yeah. Yeah. None of us is perfect. We all make an awful lot of mistakes. Some of us can admit that we make mistakes. Some just continue to not deny that they make mistakes. Everybody else makes mistakes but them. I'll tell you, if you happen to be human, like I am, there's someone you can turn to. God. Ask him for forgiveness. And I'm assuming that you would ask because you want relief from the stress, the doubt, the fear, and all that stuff that you're going through. Just want to be able to breathe and enjoy the beauty of this country that he's given us. And you'll find, friends, that it works. You'll find that it works. On that note, Georgie Porgy is going to say thank you. Hold on. Back to Facebook for a sec. Veronica says, God help us here in the USA. You know, I'm glad you mentioned that, Veronica, because, you know, we have a lot of issues here in Grenada, okay, a lot. And sometimes we have a tendency to think that we're isolated. It's just us here in Grenada. But you know what? If you look at the news, if you look at television, you listen to the radio, you read social media, folks, this world of ours, in many ways, is going to hell in a handbasket. Things ain't nice out there. And that's, I have to be honest with you, you know, even though I do the sort of work that I do here in media, I spend precious little time watching the news on television anymore because it is so depressing, makes you not even want to get out of bed in the morning. Huh? Social media, the new alternative, that's a great little mechanism out there on the internet, you know, the likes of Facebook and YouTube and all the other platforms that are available, but they too can be depressing. Not because they are bad mechanisms, if you will, but because some people take those mechanisms and use them for evil. Blunt. I have to be blunt. Because if you scour through Facebook, you'll find a lot of very encouraging, inspiring, educational content out there on social media. Yeah, it's there. But you got to look for it. Got to look for it. So, on that note, yeah. Georgie's going to go. Thanks a lot, friends, for joining us. I do hope that in some way we have not only inspired you this morning, but we've informed you in some way or another. And once again, a reminder, this program, it should be up very shortly because the internet, it's not been perfect. I'm still seeing a yellow light here this morning, but it seems to be working a little bit better than it had for the past little while. And I think I mentioned to you that we're hopeful, keep your pinkies crossed, that today our new provider will be providing us with business broadband, which we've been told is going to be the answer to our problems. So no more will you have to wait forever after I say goodbye to go back on Facebook and look at it, or to check out YouTube later on this afternoon and look at it. Should be up real soon, okay? God bless you, my dear friend. Hey, Junior George. Do you know that name? Right along. Yeah, man. Last night, I had the honor of being on Junior's program. And he says here, hey, George. Hey, Junior, learn how to spell my name, please, sir, especially since your last name is also George. My name is not spelled G-E-O-E-G-E. It's G-E-O-R-G-E. He says, hope all is fine. Yes, Junior, so far. And he goes on to say, thanks for a great discussion yesterday. Junior, thank you. Like I just said, it was an honor being on your program. I know that you're widely watched. Keep up the work, my dear friend. And I look forward to having you on, if not this one, then on Sundays with George Grant sometime. We got to hook up sometime. Next time you're down here, come and have a cup of coffee with me. George Grant sending God's blessings your way by his grace. See you tomorrow morning.